Hi again, I'm Stephen Wessner, CEO of Predictive ROI. I'm still here in my layover in Dallas for the evening, so getting super caught up in some of the lessons and insights that I want to be able to share with you over the next several weeks. So this is a great opportunity to do that. This next lesson, Catherine and I on my team, we decided to entitle this "Be Part of the 2%." And Napoleon Hill chronicles this, talks about it quite a bit in Think and Grow Rich, his fantastic book that he wrote, in 1937, sold well over 70 million copies worldwide, 1937. And then his follow-up book that wasn't published until I think it was 2010, but he wrote it in 1939, and the title of that book was Outwitting the Devil, which is also an excellent book. It was in that book, in Outwitting the Devil, that he really got super specific about the percentage of population that are the drifters and the percentage of the population that are super motivated, the ultra super achievers, the people who are the hard drivers, the business owners who are really trying to create something special in their business and with their team and for their customers. And that percentage is 2%. Where the other 98%, the flip side of that, are drifters, as Napoleon Hill would describe it. People who are aimlessly wandering through the wilderness. Doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means that they're drifting through and letting life happen to them, as opposed to them being super, super intentional about where they want to go in life, which is the 2%, or who are the 2%. So Catherine and I are going to share this clip from when I was on stage at Chris Prefontaine's event, talking about the inner circle and why that really matters, why it matters to get super intentional about your inner circle and how to do that. Lessons that I've learned from Don Yeager, lessons that I've learned from Coach John Wooden through Don Yeager, and why being intentional about being part of that 2%, why that really matters. I hope that you find this clip helpful, and I'll be right back. Is that what an amazing blessing that you all have of being in this inner circle. I just want to drive home the fact of how beautifully special this group is. And the fact that, Napoleon Hill wrote about it, Joe talked about it this morning, 98% of the population are the non-performers. You guys are the 2% who are the super high achievers. There's a reason that you're in this room, not because you got lucky. There's a reason that you're here. And so when you think about all the challenges, all the struggles, all the pain, strife, and so forth that you may already be currently experiencing, or that you will experience in your business, not one of those challenges haven't been solved by somebody in this room. Whether it's a crazy employee, a bad deal, maybe a cataclysmic failure, maybe the lack of funds, maybe a buyer that went off the rails, it doesn't matter. Somebody in this room has done that once or twice or maybe 4 or 5 times before. What an incredible privilege to be a part of this group. And it's been a blessing for me to kind of soak up some of the energy for the last 3 days. So the first observation is, your inner circle really freaking matters. Jim Rohn gets credit for the quote of, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I mentioned this on Thursday. That's sort of okay that he gets the credit for that, but he's not really the one who came up with that. Does anybody know why that number is actually 5 and not 4 or 7? Does anybody know? No. Okay. It's because a decade prior to Jim Rohn becoming successful, John Wooden won 88 games in a row as the head coach of the UCLA men's basketball team, won 10 NCAA titles in 12 years. 10 in 12 years. How many people play on a basketball court for a team, one team? How many active players are on the court at one time? 5. Holy freaking bananas. That's why there's the number 5. So Coach John Wooden, the reason why I know this lesson is because one of my dear friends, my other accountability partner, his name is Don Yeager, and he actually mentored with Coach John Wooden for 12 years. Every 60 days, Don would fly from Tallahassee, Florida, out to Southern California, spend the weekend with Coach every 60 days, and they did that for 12 years. That's a nice rinse and repeat. So there was a point in time where Coach said to Don, okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to take out a sheet of paper, and I want you to write down 3 columns, so 2 lines, break the piece of paper into thirds. And then in one column, write down the names of the 5 people that you spend the most time with in business, and then in personal, and then in community. So business, personal, community. And he said, okay, so take that home back to the hotel, or take that back to the hotel, do that tonight, and then bring the piece of paper back tomorrow, and then we'll go through it. Okay, fine. So Don does that, brings it back, and then coach says to him, okay, let's look at the 5 people in the business category. Are the 5 people in the business category, are they performing at the level that you want to be performing at? Like, are they pursuing the same goals? Are they moving at the same pace and tempo? Are they working to achieve the same things that you're trying to achieve? And 3 maybe were, but 2 weren't. Okay, those are 2 people that you need to move out of your inner circles, not because they're bad people, but they're not moving at the same pace and tempo. We all have the same 86,400 seconds in a day. We don't have spare time. So, and you will never, ever, ever outperform your inner circle. Ever. Think about it this way. If we're walking through a mall with like 4 or 5 people and you're part of that group, let's say the group stops to look at the cookie counter. What do you do if you're in the group? Okay, let's say that you're in that same group and the group is walking really, really fast to get to, I don't know, Macy's or whatever, and they're moving really, really fast. What do you do? Why in the world do we think that's different in our business, in our community, and people who we spend time with socially? We slow down or speed up at the pace of our inner circle. If you're hanging out with people, they might be great people, but if you're hanging out with people who are not moving at the same pace and tempo than you, you'll be nice, either consciously or subconsciously, and slow down. You want to be spending time with people who are going to force you to speed up. This group. Consciously or subconsciously, you've all done that to one another over the last 2.5 days, and it's been awesome to watch in the corner. So the first observation is your inner circle matters, and you guys have been playing full out for the last 2.5 days, and that's really fun to watch. Like, I'm not part of this group. It's just a great blessing to be a part of it the last 2.5 days. So it is super, super important, as I tried to illustrate to Chris's group, it is so important that we become intentional about every second that we have. We have 86,400 seconds in a day. And it is so important to spend the time with the people within our inner circle, to create the inner circle that is going to help us move forward at the pace and tempo that we want to move forward. And recognizing that people who are in our inner circle, who don't share the same drive and don't share the same goals, they may be fantastic people. But by spending more time with people who are not aligned with your goals, because you are a nice person, you will either consciously or subconsciously slow down. And you can't afford that kind of time. If you're trying to build the business, if you're trying to double down this year in 2019 in your business, you must protect your inner circle so that you can be assured of being in the 2%. I hope that you found that helpful. Please do leave me your comments below, questions, concerns, whatever that might be. Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Your feedback helps me get better each and every week. Until next week, double down and onward with gusto.